Distinguished participants, good afternoon, good morning from wherever you have joined from. Apologies for the technical glitches. I'm going to be presenting on the topic from barriers to bridges, measuring progress of the biopesticide sector in Africa and the Middle East with the biological crop protection products access index that is being proposed. So today's topic relates to a broader project on the development and commercialization of biological crop protection products in Africa and Middle East, as has been introduced. And so I'll take us through, in terms of an overview, the background, an introduction to the BioCOPPA Index, what we are calling the Biological Crop Protection Products Access Index. I will also give us a current landscape in terms of regulatory frameworks for biological crop protection products in Africa and the Middle East. I will also give the market overview, then the challenges and drivers affecting the sector progress, and then provide the rationale for the development and validation of a BioCOPPA index that is being proposed. Then provide recommendations and hope your engagement on this and the next steps for the index. So in terms of background, we are talking about biological crop protection products, and these come in different forms. So we have semiochemicals, biochemicals, microorganisms, and macroorganisms. You are aware that all these products are derived from naturally occurring substances or synthesized from naturally occurring substances. For the macroorganisms, these are whole organisms that are used in fighting other organisms that are therefore affecting crops in the field. In terms of background, I would like to take us to the challenges, and it brings to the question, this question in mind: will biopesticides or biological crop protection products solve the current challenges in Africa and Middle East? This is a core question that we introduced. So I would like to highlight the context and therefore the rationale for thinking about an index that will help us track and measure the growth in the sector. Africa, Middle East is a vast region with about 72 countries with diverse cultures, of course, climatic conditions, different crops are grown, and mostly affected by poverty, high poverty levels, malnutrition, food insecurity, and also we have an increasing aging population that is engaged in agriculture. In terms of population, we are seeing a region that will by 2050 hit just slightly below 3 billion, and that means we have more mouths to feed. In terms of climate change, this is a region, as I've mentioned, that is highly impacted by droughts, floods, invasions of pests and diseases that impact the productivity of the crops. So that means, therefore, this is a region where sometimes the small-scale farmers lose 100% of what they have planted. And therefore, they need to address this with innovative products. We also have, therefore, an inadequate farmers' toolbox. There are fewer products available for farmers to use in this area. So when you look at having to focus or transform the food production systems into sustainable ones, we have these challenges to compete with. We have pests and disease management that needs to be managed properly. We also have changing consumer preferences, which we need to address and provide the consumers with what they would like to have. We also have market access challenges due to the SPS issues that we need, therefore, to comply. We have policy changes, just to name a few, the EU Green Deal. We have also the Sustainable Development Goals, number 2, that we need to achieve by 2030. We also have the ambition to reduce the ecological footprint, but at the same time promote food security. So how do we do that? So this brings into perspective the critical role of biological crop protection products used in integrated pest management programs that can contribute to supporting this sustainability that we are looking for. Then we also have the farmers' inadequate toolbox. How do we boost this toolbox with biological crop protection products used in a complementary way alongside other tools? So this brings us to framing the problem and the focus that we want to work, and in this way. To increase agricultural productivity, we need and enhance safety and improve compliance with market access. I mentioned the SPS measures. We will require examining the farmers' currently inadequate toolbox, and also address the issue that in Africa, Middle East, biological crop protection products are only at 4% when you compare to the global market. So we need a growth percentage that is slightly higher. So how do we accelerate this? So this is part of the problem. Looking at improvement of availability and access to biological crop protection products for farmers in this region, we really need to create an enabling environment which then means that we have to develop and implement the right balance of input factors. What do I mean by input factors? The regulatory frameworks, the technological advancement mechanisms, market dynamics, farmer education and awareness, and changing their practices and sociocultural dispositions is very critical. So these are some of the factors that are affecting the biological crop protection sector. Then there is also no measurement tool out here. So how do we therefore measure, track, and rate the sector's progress? So this brings us to the main objective of this work, that we need to, one, undertake an in-depth analysis of these factors that I have mentioned that influence the development and commercialization of biological crop protection products, their interactions, understand also their interactions, and then use that to develop an index. So we are looking at the drivers. We are also looking at putting together a digital tool that can help measure, track, and assess progress based on the drivers that we are going to put out, and then also based on the respective indicators, using respective indicators to do the measurements. Then this index is going to be piloted at least in 2 countries for validation by stakeholders. And we're looking at basically bridging existing knowledge gaps, looking at the landscape in terms of the market, in terms of regulatory, in terms of farmers' awareness, and then looking at the trends in availability of the products. And at the end of this project, we want to end up with an access index that can be used, therefore applied and implemented by the different countries. In terms of the market, the landscape for Africa, Middle East region. So despite biologicals being promoted and being the fastest growing technology, crop protection technology in other parts of the world, in Africa, Middle East region, it remains at 4%. Compared to other regions, that is quite high. So that means, therefore, we need to accelerate this growth. The market value projections are significant, but the region currently holds a small share of registered biopesticides. So if you look at the bioprotection portal, which provides some of the registered biopesticides in the globe, you find that in Africa, the percentage is just 7%. So out of the 6,828 products that are registered, only 7% represent those registered in Africa, Middle East region. So it means, therefore, we are growing very slowly compared to other regions such as the Asia Pacific, such as the Latin America and the North Africa and the EU. So something needs to be done in terms of accelerating the growth. And why this needs to happen is there is the background that I have mentioned, that there is now focus to see how these tools can be used to accelerate sustainability. So these combinations of the tools is very, very critical, and to have farmers implement some of these innovations in their IPM programs. When you look at the regulatory framework or the regulatory map of Africa, Middle East region, you will notice that compared to 5 years ago, there's a lot of change, positive change in the sector, in that we now have in the 3 main sub-regions, that is West and Central Africa, East and Southern Africa, and then Middle East and North Africa, we have a lot of progress. The deep green there is countries where we have some form of guidelines that can be used to register biological crop protection products. When you look at the Sahelian Committee for Pesticides, this is responsible for implementing the common regulations that have been put together by the SILS, which is the Permanent Interstate Committee for Drought Control in the Sahel. They are registering biopesticides. So these countries, Mauritania, Mali, Niger, Chad, Burkina Faso, Guinea, Senegal, all this, they're part of the CSP, and therefore there is a centralized system where when products are lodged at the CSP secretariat, the committee evaluates them, and these are therefore, once they are registered, are allowed in the countries around the seals. Secondly, we have the West Africa Regional Pesticide Registration Committee, which has guidelines, adopted guidelines for biopesticides, but these have not been operationalized yet. So once they are operationalized, this will be a framework that will actually support all the ECOWAS countries. And that means, therefore, there is potential for quickly moving to fast-tracking process as long as there is a will. In the East and Southern Africa, we have 2 communities, the East African Community, and we have the Southern Africa Development Community. The East African Community in 2019 endorsed harmonized guidelines for biopesticides and biocontrol agents for 8 countries. And some of the partner states in the East African Community, these ones in dark green, have already implemented these guidelines, and therefore there are frameworks there to register biopesticides. We have noticed that wherever there are clear guidelines, you have more products being registered, and this needs to be translated into more products being used, and that's why we are coming in with a measurement tool. In the Southern Africa Development Committee, the harmonized guidelines were completed last year and have been endorsed by the SADC Secretariat for implementation in the 17 countries of SADC. So that means, therefore, the countries we see here in green, South Africa, Zambia, already are registering these products, Zimbabwe, and they have a framework in place. But with this opportunity to have the harmonized guidelines, there's opportunity to revise the guidelines that they have or adopt as is the SADC guidelines and continue to register. So that means, therefore, all these countries in the South have a mechanism that they can use to fast track, and some of them have started to work on their procedures, like Zambia. The interim procedures you see in some of the countries, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Jordan, Malawi, and Zambia, that they're already looking at their frameworks to develop further so that they can be able to register or fast track the registration of biological crop protection products. Where you see no formal provisions, it means most of the registrations, where there are, they have used the lens of the conventional crop protection products to make the registrations. But there is clearly an opportunity here that we have the harmonized frameworks that I've talked about, that all these countries can take cognizance of, they can take advantage of, and meaning, therefore, that in the next 5 years, with the political will, we should see these countries turning green by adopting the harmonized guidelines. So we see in the Middle East and North Africa, and this includes the Gulf Cooperation Council, we see some registrations of biopesticides in some of the countries, and also the focus to review or come up with the procedures for fast tracking the registration. So we should see the landscape changing in the next 5 years for the better. And hopefully this also will change for the better for farmers, that they will use this in their IPM programs. In terms of the challenges to the different stakeholders, and these are known by all of us in the sector, the challenges that farmers face in terms of availability of products, the quality of these products, the knowledge around the use of these products is a key challenge. And then the effectiveness, because biopesticides have a narrow pest control spectrum. We also see a challenge around storage requirements for the research and development related challenges, and this impacts both the private and public sector R&D. There's been challenge around definitions and clear data requirements, the lack of fast track procedure, the high costs, inadequate farmer demand, and this is related to the knowledge and understanding of the stewardship of the biological crop protection products. There is also the market instabilities and the inadequate infrastructure for testing as well. In terms of regulatory frameworks, the challenges are around having a dedicated regulatory framework for biopesticides, a harmonized definition, data requirements, with the clarity around them, the long registration processes, the slow harmonization, the implementation of mutual recognition, and then the expertise in the authorities that register pesticides. You'll find that in some places there is no expertise for dossier evaluation for bios. Then the lack of extension services in most of the countries, and of course post-registration surveillance. This is to support the farmers. Sometimes you find that there is multiple authority responsibilities, not more than one authority is responsible, and therefore this makes it difficult to fast track the process. There's also an issue about the trial institutions, their capabilities in testing, and also the presence or availability of infrastructure that is needed for biological crop protection products. So therefore, we always end the discussion around biological crop protection products with recommendations on some of the areas that we have mentioned: public awareness, farmer support and training, collaboration, alliance and partnerships, harmonization, policy facilitation, and a relook at registration processes. We always end up with these recommendations. But the question is, to what extent does a country need any of these aspects? For instance, when you look at farmer training and support, how do you gauge that this is enough? How do these factors interact with each other? And this is where the index comes in, because this is really a complex interplay of factors, and this can be better explained with this causal loop. We are looking at increasing the adoption of sustainable production systems, or adopting a sustainable food production systems in our region. And to bring these biological crop protection products to be integrated in the IPM toolbox for farmers, we need to increase their use to be incorporated in the IPM toolbox. To increase their use, we need to have products available to be used, evaluated, and registered for farmers. So it means, therefore, we need more products evaluated and authorized for placement on the market and access. And when you look at all these greens, there's a lot of interaction with other factors. The grays are, for instance, the economic and political environment is very critical. The policy and regulatory framework is very critical. The public sector institutional capacity support. And here we're looking at the infrastructure, the technical expertise, the trials, the research and development angle. We are looking at what are the product development pipelines. When you look at the private sector part on R&D, it's also the same. What is the level of expertise, and how are they churning these products? What are the number of products that they are presenting for registration? Are they importing the products? Are they developing locally? And then you look at the adoption side, you need the farmer education around it for you to increase the adoption. What are the knowledge capabilities? What are the distribution capabilities? So it's a whole network of factors, and therefore we propose an index that will help to gauge, to measure some of these aspects in the sector. And so in the first instance, we have looked at various literature around the indexes that have been developed in agriculture, and we have found several. FAO publishes reports like food security indices, the World Bank. We have crop yield index, we have soil quality index, we have water use efficiency index, we have pest pressure index, climate resilience index, among others. We also have the Africa Seed Access Index, which from which we got the motivation for this index. So we are looking at how do we have the major or the factors which we are calling domains, like R&D, industry competitiveness, policy, regulatory frameworks, and capacity, and the subdomains under them, and respective indicators for each of them. So we are looking at having a tool, an online tool that will help with regular measurement, tracking progress, benchmarking, evaluating the interventions in the different aspects, and also that will promote a deeper understanding of the sector trends and the effectiveness of the strategies that countries have implemented. We look at having a tool that is simplified, that simplifies the complexity that we see here, but also promotes collaboration of the different actors in the country. So in the first step, as I have mentioned, we have looked at the different indices that are there, looked at some of the gaps, and so that we can learn how to now develop this index by avoiding some of the gaps. You also notice that there are not very many indices on the crop protection side. So that means this is going to fill a gap that is currently there. So in the first step, we looked at reviewing and validating of the index. And here I was privileged to participate in an Asia Pacific Biopesticides Community of Practice session in April, where about 45 participants were able to validate the domains, the index domains. And this basically, I mentioned the R&D, the institution capacities, competitiveness, and policy space. So they were able to take part in validating those domains, and I will share the results. So the index we are looking at is to have an evidence-based index that will support policy reforms, investment decisions. It will also help to know the capacity building requirements, and also know the information dissemination and communication aspects. So this is what we aim to achieve. In the second step, we are going to have a further review, a second review and validation, which is looking at the domains, the subdomains, and the indicators. And then the fourth one, then also happening this year in October, will be to design the tool and then test it and also validate it. So we anticipate that at the end we will have the index piloted, again validated, because then it will have been completed and then released for use by countries. So you may be asking, what was this validation about? What we did is, under each of the domains, and the research and development, industry competitiveness, production, registration, distribution access, and market dynamics, and then biopesticides policy, regulatory frameworks, and capacity, we gave this information to the stakeholders and asked them to indicate whether they are relevant, they are highly relevant, or not relevant. So three measures of scale. And 45 of them highly rated the domains and subdomains is highly relevant. So this is why you see that it's 2.5 to 2.8. So meaning these are averages. So meaning all the domains that we presented are highly relevant. So we asked them for additional domains that they may see omitted in this, and ask them for indicators that would fall under, for instance, capacities for testing, distribution and access, institutional and capacity, landscape and capacity, the law, regulations and guidelines, market dynamics, etc. So we asked them to propose some of the indicators that would go under this, and based on that, we have improved the questionnaire to now be used in the second validation before we can use that information to now develop the index. So this is how the research and development looks like. We have that as the main domain, research and development. Then under it, we have subdomains. Currently, we have 3. And now we're asking for suggestions of any additional domains based on your experiences and practice in the field. And we have added one more measure so that there are 4. So it's highly relevant, somewhat relevant, and relevant. And we anticipate that stakeholders will participate in scoring this so that now we can make input in the index. For each of the subdomains, we have a set of indicators that will be used to measure. And again, we are asking for any additional indicators, and as well as validating whether these are highly relevant, somewhat relevant, or not relevant. The importance of this will be then to use those submissions to give a weighting for each of the subdomains and each of the respective indicators. So the same also process will apply to the industry competitiveness, which is about production, registration, distribution, access, and market dynamics. Again, we are asking for more suggestions for any subdomains that need to be included in this domain. We are also asking for suggestions from stakeholders on any additional indicators that could correspond, for instance, to production and registration, etc. In the third domain, where we're looking at the policy space, policy, regulatory frameworks, and capacity, we are also seeking stakeholder input in any suggestions or additional subdomains that we may have left out, and a ranking on the scale of 4. And then also we are asking for each respective subdomain, we are asking for a ranking of the indicators and any additional indicators that can be derived from the practice and of course, expertise of the stakeholders. So this is the invitation to stakeholders, and the reason why we're extending invitations to the stakeholders involved in the biopesticide sector is because we want to reflect the realities, the challenges, and opportunities that are within the region and beyond. We are also then inviting different categories of stakeholders, policymakers, regulatory authorities, private sector, researchers, both public and private, farmer associations, etc., to participate in the co-designing. So their expertise, their insights and perspectives will help us to validate and finalize the domains. It will help us to also finalize the subdomains and indicators and refine the scoring methodology and the weighting. So we'd like to make this tool simple, relevant, and easy as an app eventually, where countries can actually then pick it up and use it, and also co-develop it for the future, so that it can be customized to the country depending on which direction they would like to move. So the piloting and dissemination will happen after the design is complete and after we have looked at the submissions by the different stakeholders. So this is the link, and this is the QR code which you can scan and participate in this exercise. So with this, I would like to thank you very much, and most especially acknowledge CropLife Africa Middle East for their support in this work. Acknowledge also my university, Catholic University, for their supervision and support in this work, and also acknowledge ICGB for giving this platform and also the collaboration that we are having around biopesticide sector since 2 years now. With this, I'd like to thank you very much, and I welcome any questions you may have or any comments that you may have. I will leave this up here so that you can take it up. Thank you very much. Thank you.